So before I cut out this inner A panel, I've actually marked on here where the holes line up, and the same down the bottom, just so I can try to get them to line up again. And what I'm also going to do is just measure from the start of this hole to the edge there, and write the number on the side of the panel, so that I can try to get the new heritage A panel, inner A panel that I put on there, to go back in exactly the same spot. And also another little note I've taken is that underneath here, actually here, underneath this lip where it joins the fender, there's actually a bent over piece of metal that's brazed between the two to add stiffness. So I'll do the same thing when I put it back on again. I'll braze a piece of metal that folds underneath to protect it. So it seemed to work really well, because this is the hardest part to get off. Same as down the bottom, you see there's a little brazed spot right there as well, which was really tough bit of metal, so obviously adds some strength to the panel. You can see my rust here, pretty bad, and also on the wing as well. So I'm going to mark that and cut it off. Excuse the rain outside, rarely happens in Australia, but it's absolutely pouring at the moment. Inner A panel left hand side, just absolutely knackered. So after a little bit of grinding on the inside of the A panel, I managed to get it fit. The gap between here and the edge of the door is nearly exactly 27mm, which is what it was before. I've lined up the holes with the marks that I've made here, so I know that they're in line, and they're also aligned on the bottom as well, which is good, and that gap is also 27mm as well, so it worked out pretty well. And now I just got to tack it in place. Taking the wheel off so I can get inside the arch there and make sure that it's properly welded. So here's the inner A panel welded in, and next is the outer A panel. So that worked pretty well. Welded it up inside as well, and then sprayed the whole thing with primer on the inside. Weld through primer in case I need to do any more. But yeah, it's in place. Well, I got somewhere this morning with the left-hand side sill. Come down, have a look. Yeah, this was, as you can imagine, it was absolute chaos. So I've cut it off. It's actually brazed on this point here to obviously add strength, so I might braze it back on when I put it, the new sill back on again. But yeah, I've cleaned it up and then sprayed it with some rust converter, even though it was pretty shiny, but that just helped it to get into the rust spots that were in there. But generally it was pretty clean. So I think I'm going to do the same thing that Tony has done, where he drilled the holes from the inside out and then welded it from the inside so it doesn't look ugly, because the other side, it's not my favourite side. So we'll see how we go. But anyway, it's good to have that horrible sill off. It was rotten as anything. There was barely anything left, which is just incredible. So yes, clean that up. I'll epoxy the whole thing so it just hopefully wards off the rust a lot longer. And it's another little job done. So the outer sill came up pretty well. I ended up welding them from inside, which gives a much nicer finish. I should have done the other side like that. There's just some bits where I had some penetration, so I've just put some primer on them. But yeah, they turned out really nice. No rust for the first time in years. And the A panel, inner A panel lined up really well. You can see my marks there are still in line. and between the edge and the wall like I wanted it, it is 27 millimeters. So perfect fit. Okay, time for the outer A panel to go on. I've cleaned it up really well, wire brushed the whole thing, and then gave it a coat of weld through primer because I'm going to be welding all along this edge. And what I'm going to do is use a punch. When I put the panel on, I'm going to line up the holes, the outer panel with the inner panel using a punch so that they're nice and aligned, and also put the bolts through as well, and then clamp it along the edge to weld it. I've also sprayed the outer A panel inside as well, so that that's all sealed as well. Outer A panel. So it's now on. And it fitted really well, the holes lined up. So happy with that. So this is my left-hand wing seam that I've just filled. I've actually just lead filled it, and you can see it's really smooth, and it goes all the way down the inside here. And I just heated it up and used the edge of the metal flux brush actually to push against the inside, which actually just sealed it up. So that seam is now sealed up.